Okay, hey everybody, TG here. And let's see, so today we're going to be over in the essentials room over here on Simpler Trading. Let's make sure everything looks like we're good to go over there. And then we're also on the social medias as far as YouTube and X. So looks like we're good. And the topic today is going to be kind of one of those curated pieces is, what's going on with politics and the market. How do politics affect the market? Thank you, Mirza and Omer. Looks like we're good to go on all of that kind of stuff. And obviously, the reason for this topic right now is because of what we're seeing with the cannabis industry. But there are other examples that I'd like to show you that have been, somewhat recent, and even before that. I got a couple examples over here that we can talk about. Now, I think it's I think it's fair to say we probably all know that politics, the administration, basically laws can affect the stock market, and part of the reason is because, well, that's how business is done. If you have a law that says you can't do this thing and it involves a business, well, that business is probably not going to do very well. On the flip side, if something that wasn't legal but then becomes legal, well, there's a business opportunity. And so that is going to affect the stock market, the stock itself, and that whole industry. So that's what we're really seeing right now with cannabis in general. So a couple things as to why this is happening most recently. There are a couple, I'll just pull up a couple news articles for you guys. Fat Joe and Kamala Harris have been talking apparently to basically get the DEA to reclassify cannabis. So right now, I think it's a, forgive me, I think it's a Schedule 1. It's like really up there, which is like, maybe that doesn't make sense. And so they're going to try and figure out how they can reduce it. Because honestly, my personal opinion is I feel like the cat's out of the bag. There is either legal cannabis in most of the states, or there is medical marijuana in even more states. And so it's like, good luck trying to put this genie back in the jar. Okay. So I think it's kind of out there already. And so I do think that it makes sense that they need to pull back on the classification rating of cannabis. It seems odd, almost hypocritical that if you have it out there as legal or as medical and it's still scheduled as a really, really hard drug, that doesn't really make sense. Now, the other side of this is the scheduling of that as far as the risk and as far as federal law, because right now it's still federally illegal, and that this is the other reason is that banks are still having a hard time, like the financial system. Like if you come over here, there we go. This bill will make it easier for banks to provide services to companies in the industry. Now, I actually was involved in the cannabis industry years ago in Arizona, back when it was getting started over there, and that was kind of the thing. Was we had to figure out all sorts of different ways of how can you exchange money for cannabis, because it technically was not allowed to do that. And businesses, they had all these loopholes, like, okay, you buy a gold bullion over here, I'm going to exchange the gold bullion for cannabis, and then you can turn the gold in later because there's something of value. But you can't actually run a credit card to go buy your cannabis, because there's no banking industry for cannabis because it's federally illegal, and so the banks can't do it. There's the whole ecosphere of something like that. So if they could make it federally legal, then banking services can come in, and then they can make it more mainstream and palatable and all that kind of stuff. And so there's still a lot of growth in the future if some of these barriers can get knocked down. I think that's what the biggest thing is about it. So between Kamala Harris, Fat Joe, the banking system, there's a lot of stuff that has potential of getting this to work out in the future. That being said, we have seen this numerous times in the past for the cannabis stuff, and it just hasn't quite happened yet. So, other than 2020, when basically Joe Biden won the election, and everyone's like, okay, because here's another thing: how do politics impact the stock market? Well, when Joe Biden got elected, everyone's like, okay, what is he running for? What are the Democrats for? The EV, clean air, alternative fuel. Bitcoin was in that case, cannabis. So all these things that basically said, well, what is a Democrat for, and where is the money going to go? Because the Democrat is going to be in office. Where's the money, and where is legality and stuff going? Well, that's where we're going to find it. So Kamala Harris said something most recently with Fat Joe and all this on a presser, and that's why most recently Cannabis is running. So let's go take a look at that real quick. So CGC, I think, was one of the, yeah, it was kind of one of the sharpest runs to the upside. Now, yes, you can catch these. It is possible. There were setups. So number one, for me, the Moxie indicator did fire. And then you could see we started to get price up over the hourly 50 SMA. And again, it followed the 15-minute SMA. Who knew that this was going to move this far? Okay, that's the thing. Some of them moved, some of them didn't move too much. You had to kind of figure out which ones are going to be the winners and how far they were going to go. And that's kind of the name of the game when it comes to the stock market, figuring out which one's going to actually work. Now, that being said, if we kind of back up and we look at this, do you see this action? Like, yes, it went from $3 to call it $8 real quick, but now it's back down to 6. Does it even show up on this chart that goes back 3 years? Not really. Okay. So this is why I'm saying I'm not too worried about it. Yes, it was a quick move. Yes, it was worth a lot of percentage, but you had to know this thing was either coming out or catch this and whatever. But you can see here, there have been other bigger moves. Okay. Maybe this is the start of something. So this is what we're going to be watching. There has been a lot of volume that's coming into it. But really, if you zoom out, it's got a long way to go before this can actually do something. So just be a little bit careful. Kind of like the article said, what about Tilray? Same thing. They've had bounces and things in the past. Like this might have been something newsworthy about policies. Maybe this was something. This could have been something, and now here we are again. And they've all gone up, and then they've all fizzled. Now maybe this time is different. We'll have to see, but it's just one of those things you need to be aware of about how these things have been, handled in the past. And so far, I just other than a quick move, there's nothing material yet. And I think if these things are really going to get going, we're going to see a change. And honestly, since Tilray is down here at $2, if it's going to go up to 20 ever, we're gonna see it do that, and it's going to give us plenty of time to get up there. So yeah, basically keep it tight, keep it short term, all that kind of stuff. Now, the other one that I was talking about, First Solar. So First Solar basically got the thumbs up from the government as far as, okay, we're going to pick you to do solar stuff, and we're gonna support you and say yes, you get our subsidies and all that stuff. And look what it did. Ooh, right there. That clearly was government intervention, or at least government said we pick you. Okay, so this is where when you follow the money, you follow the laws, and you follow the administration, you can have a better idea of what is going to be the theme for certain things. Like, what is the next administration about? Where are they going to put the money? What are they into? If you guys can kind of figure that out, then you might be able to look around and find sectors and industries that could be benefiting from politics. So there you go. That's when they said we're going to go with them. Also, from 2020, we know that, how about this? Uh, let's see. Well, let's go with the EV stuff. Even NEO, China, and I'm actually let me go to the weekly because we're gonna need more time and data. So we all know 2020 was pretty crazy, but again, if you look at this, a lot of people thought EVs were going to be the wave of the future, and they are, but they really thought like mass adoption was going to happen, all that kind of stuff. We even thought Shopify, with the whole internet buying and everything like that, was going to keep going. Well, everything had to kind of get repriced. It is up again. It's been working, but these are the things that we really thought was going to be really taking off. BE, Bloom Energy, alternative fuels. You can see that was another big one. That was really pretty amazing when we were trading in 2020. And again, it was thinking hydrogen or alternative fuels or solar panels, all that kind of stuff. And we can look at that. How about TAN, which is the solars? And look at that again. You kind of look at what was the Democratic administration all about? Well, renewables. So solar. And this is part of why, because a lot of these things, it was really pretty crazy. I mean, you could look, it was even the IWM, so small caps, the beginning of this big move happened right here. It was November 7th, right there. Election day, right? So as soon as Joe Biden got the nod, that was the beginning of the rally. And you can see the majority of these stocks took off right after election day. So if that is not a correlation, I don't know what is, but that's a pretty darn clear one. We even have WKHS, Workhorse And this one back in the day, it had contracts. They were talking about government contracts. Now they didn't win them, and look what happened. So here was on the idea that they were going to get some government contracts, and then it all fizzled and went away. Plus, everything changed as far as the market goes. Um, we also know Rivian and basically all the other EVs. I mean, EVGO. This was another one that we're kind of looking through, and you can barely see there was enough time on this one. This was coming right into the end of that frothy area. And then I was thinking DRIV, this is another ETF for the electric vehicle segment. And you can see 2020, everything was taken off. So this just helps to reinforce and show you, hey, one way to look at the stock market and how those things get impacted is through politics. So if you do see something, if you can be aware of a law or rule that changes out there, or you see that the government is starting to subsidize something or go after a particular company, for better or for worse, you should look at it and kind of think, how can this benefit me or how can this hurt me? So if you see that you're in a certain sector or certain market and the government changes direction on that, and maybe for the worse, you might want to watch out because other people are going to be thinking the same thing and like, oh, they're going to start putting penalties on here, or they're going to be charging more, or laws for this thing changed and they're detrimental to the industry. Maybe I want to pull back from that and get out and reduce my exposure to it. So okay, keep those things in mind, and that way you kind of have a better understanding and not surprised when you start seeing things like this, when you're like, oh, okay, why did cannabis run the other day? Oh, because Kamala Harris and Fat Joe got together and they're talking about reducing penalties and restrictions for cannabis. Oh, okay, so it makes sense. But those names still need time to warm up. As I said, even Kron was doing better, but these things haven't really gone anywhere. So you got to pick the horse that you think is going to do the best, find the dips, and just keep in mind that they're still down at the dumps. Okay, they're having a hard time. Yes, maybe they won't go lower, so you can get down to the ground floor. But the question is, when are they going to really start going, and when are they going to go in earnest? We're not sure. MSOS is another one. They're doing a little bit better. At least they're not going down. They're doing a little bit better. And SMG, Scott's Miracle Grow. Yeah, you can kind of trade around the industry. You don't have to trade cannabis directly, but Scott's Miracle Grow is a supplier to the cannabis industry. So, if cannabis does well, they're probably going to do well. That's another way you can look at this. Yeah, find suppliers. Think about the ecosystem of certain sectors, industries that are going to be doing well. All right, guys. Well, thanks for tuning in. Hope you guys enjoy it, and we'll catch you at the next one.